Hey guys, tonight we step quietly into a different kind of dwelling, a world away from drafty castles or bustling ancient cities. We journey to North America's woodlands to experience the gentle rhythms of daily life within a Haudenosaunee Longhouse. Imagine a bark and timber structure, longer than a bowling alley, housing multiple matrilineal families. The air is hazy with wood smoke from shared hearths, alive with murmurs, laughter, and simmering corn soup. This isn't about grand battles. It's about community heartbeat, a culture connected to earth and each other. And let's be honest, living with dozens of your relatives, sharing every meal and snore. You probably won't survive this imaginary journey without Olympic-level diplomacy or intense appreciation for personal space. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Let us know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is in your corner of the world. It's always fascinating to see our global night owl community. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You stir from sleep, not with a sudden jolt, but as if gently nudged by the collective breath of your extended family. The air in your compartment within the longhouse is cool and still carries the lingering, earthy scent of last night's fires, a comforting, familiar perfume that has cradled your sleep. Through the chinks in the elm bark walls and, more significantly, from the smoke holes running like watchful eyes along the high, arched roof, a pale, pearly light begins to filter in. This isn't the sharp, demanding summons of a direct sunrise, but a softer hawas, more diffuse illumination, a gentle stirring that signals the approach of a new day. Your personal alarm clock is a subtle symphony, perhaps the sound of your great-aunt, your Atso, coughing softly from her sleeping platform in the next family compartment, or the optimistic, hesitant crackle of someone, an early riser in your own family unit, carefully rekindling the embers in your shared hearth. It's less blaring annoyance designed to induce immediate panic, and more a subtle, smoky, communal suggestion that life is, in fact, gracefully continuing. You lie for a moment on your sleeping mat, woven from corn husks or soft reeds, nestled beneath a warm covering of deer or bear skins. Above you, the massive, smoke-darkened timbers of the longhouse frame curve gracefully, disappearing into the hazy upper reaches where bundles of dried corn, herbs, and stored goods hang like shadowy ornaments. Haudenosaunee Longhouses. The traditional homes of the Six Nations of the Iroquois Confederacy were remarkably substantial. Communal dwellings, typically constructed with a sturdy framework of wooden poles firmly set in the ground, then covered with large, overlapping slabs of elm bark, meticulously sewn together. These structures could be impressively long, sometimes stretching well over 100 feet, even 200 feet or more, designed to house multiple related families, all tracing their lineage through the mother's side. Your own family occupies a section, a defined space with its own hearth, but there are no solid internal walls, just partitions of bark or hanging hides, allowing sounds and scents and a certain degree of communal awareness to flow freely. You stretch carefully, mindful of the close quarters. You're acutely aware of the sleeping forms of your siblings, your cousins, your mother, perhaps your grandmother, the clan mother herself, whose quiet wisdom anchors your family. Longhouse living, it's all about mastering the art of the compact, socially aware, and entirely silent stretch, lest you inadvertently poke your sleeping cousin Ionwata directly in the eye and disrupt the delicate pre-dawn tranquility with an undignified yelp. The light filtering through the smoke holes high above is what you watch. As it strengthens, it catches the slowly swirling eddies of smoke from the newly reviving fires, creating dancing patterns, a smoke hole sunrise that is both beautiful and a practical indicator that the day is truly beginning. There's a quiet, almost reverent family tradition, a quirky little unspoken ritual you all share upon seeing that first distinct column of silvery smoke illuminated by the new light. You whisper a silent greeting, a thank you to the Creator, and perhaps a gentle wish for a good day for your kin. This awakening is a shared experience, a gentle transition from the collective dream time of the longhouse to the individual paths of the coming day. You hear the soft sounds of others stirring now, a quiet murmur of conversation from another family's compartment down the central corridor, the shuffle of someone adding wood to a fire, the distant, almost inaudible cry of a baby being soothed. These are the sounds of shared breaths, of lives intertwined, a profound sense of community that permeates even these first waking moments. Historians still argue, when examining the archaeological remains and ethnographic accounts of longhouse construction, whether the precise orientation of these dwellings often, though not always, along an east-west axis was primarily determined by practical considerations like prevailing wind direction for smoke dispersal and maximizing light from the doorways at either end, or if it held deeper cosmological, symbolic, or even clan-specific significance within the complex Haudenosaunee worldview. Looking up at the way the light now slants through those roof openings, it feels like both practicality and poetry are at play. The first deep, conscious breath of the new day is a rich, complex tapestry of familiar aromas. The sharp, clean scent of old wood smoke, deeply embedded in the bark walls and roof. The fresher, more pungent fragrance of newly kindling fires. A subtle hint of corn porridge or perhaps a Three Sisters stew already beginning to simmer somewhere down the line from a particularly industrious household. And yes, the faint, lingering, entirely unique scent of Uncle Otzi's Serra's particularly pungent, well-loved, and possibly historically significant sleeping furs from the compartment across the way. It's an acquired, deeply communal, and strangely comforting atmospheric experience. This is the gentle, smoky, shared awakening in the heart of your Haudenosaunee Longhouse. The first quiet beats in the day's unfolding rhythm, as you prepare to rise and join the life of your extended family, your clan, your nation. The hazy light filtering through the smoke holes along the roof of the longhouse slowly gains strength, chasing away the last deep shadows from the corners of your family's partitioned living space. You've performed your compact, socially aware stretches, perhaps exchanged a few sleepy, mumbled greetings with your siblings or cousins who share the nearby sleeping platforms, and now the gentle but insistent aroma of wood smoke and simmering food draws you towards the heart of your immediate world, your family's hearth. This isn't just a place to cook. It's the very nucleus of your matrilineal kinship, the warm, glowing center around which your daily life revolves. Each distinct hearth, or fireplace, set into the central corridor of a Haudenosaunee Longhouse, traditionally served as the focal point for a specific matrilineal family unit, typically consisting of a mother or grandmother, her sisters, her daughters, and their husbands and children. These related women and their families shared the fire for cooking, warmth, light, and social gathering, with the entire longhouse essentially being an aggregation of these hearth-centered kin groups. As you approach, you see your mother, or perhaps an aunt, already tending the fire. Her movements economical and practiced. A clay pot, rounded and blackened from countless previous meals, sits nestled in the embers, a plume of fragrant steam rising from its opening. Breakfast is served? Well, almost, and don't expect a lavish spread of bacon, eggs, and toast, or whatever strange culinary delights future peoples might invent. Today's special, much like yesterday's special and very probably tomorrow's, is likely to be a hearty, nourishing portion of corn mush, perhaps sagamite or samp, made from pounded corn, boiled with water until thick and smooth. Or it might be the warmed-up remnants of last night's Three Sisters stew, that perfect triumvirate of corn, beans, and squash, their flavors having melded beautifully overnight. And, as always, every mouthful comes with a generous, invisible side helping of wood smoke. It's the secret ingredient that really makes your eyes water with distinct, smoky joy and gives everything that authentic longhouse tang. The preparation is simple but imbued with care. Your mother might be stirring the mush with a long wooden paddle, her motions rhythmic and steady, There's a quirky, unspoken, but fiercely adhered to rule within your particular hearth group about the correct way to stir the morning mush. Your eldest aunt insists on a clockwise motion, with exactly 7 counterclockwise stirs at the end to ensure even cooking and ward off lumps of ill fortune. Hafikiwibi woe betide any younger family member who attempts a freestyle, maverick stirring technique in her presence. The resulting silent, disappointed stare is more effective than any verbal rebuke. You watch your cousin, Kayenkui Ni, who is perhaps 12 summers old, try to sneak an extra piece of dried venison that's been added to the pot for flavor from the communal serving bowl. The almost imperceptible, yet laser-like, stare from your clan mother, who has now taken her customary seat near the fire, could probably curdle maple sap at 50 paces or make a charging bear reconsider its life choices. Some things are just sacred, and apparently the equitable distribution of pre-noon venison is very high on that list. As other family members awaken and gather, a quiet hum of activity fills your section of the longhouse. Children, still sleepy-eyed, are gently coaxed from their furs. Your uncles or brothers might be checking their hunting gear or quietly discussing plans for the day. Wooden bowls, carved smooth by patient hands, are passed around, along with spoons made of wood or antler. Historians still argue, when trying to reconstruct the subtle social dynamics within these communal dwellings, whether the specific seating arrangements or the precise order of eating around a particular longhouse hearth strictly reflected an individual's age, gender, or status within the matrilineal family hierarchy, or if such daily practices were generally more fluid and informally varied, based perhaps on immediate need, personal preference, or simply who managed to get closest to the warmest part of the fire first on a chilly morning. In your experience, it's a bit of both. A general respect for elders, but also a practical understanding that a growing child needs their share. The morning conversation around the hearth is usually a gentle, low murmur, a soft counterpoint to the crackling fire and the distant sounds from other hearths further down the longhouse corridor. It's a tapestry woven from "pass the mush, please." Is that my carved spoon or yours? The one with the slightly chewed handle. Whose turn is it to fetch more water from the spring after we eat? And the ever-present classic. Which one of you delightful children just put alive and surprisingly athletic? Frog in the communal water gourd again. It's the very epitome of domestic tranquility and familial bonding, Haudenosaunee style. This hearth-fire kinship, this simple act of sharing the first meal of the day, is a powerful reaffirmation of your bonds. You are not just individuals, you are part of an interconnected web of relationships, all centered around this shared flame. It's a moment of quiet communion, of drawing strength and warmth not just from the fire and the food, but from each other's presence. The stories shared might be snippets of dreams from the night, quiet plans for the tasks ahead, or just the comfortable, familiar banter of people who know each other intimately. It's in these gentle, unassuming rhythms of the morning meal, enveloped in the smoky warmth of the longhouse and the comforting presence of your kin, that the true strength and resilience of your Haudenosaunee family life is kindled anew each day, preparing you all for whatever the world outside your bark walls might bring. The remnants of the morning meal, the smoky scent of corn mush, the warmth of the shared hearth fire, the quiet hum of your matrilineal family's waking conversations, still linger pleasantly in the air of your longhouse compartment. As the day begins to unfold and individuals start to turn their minds towards the tasks ahead, your attention, like that of many in your household, naturally gravitates towards a figure of quiet strength and profound influence, your clan mother. Or perhaps one of the other respected elder women who collectively guide the destiny of your extended family and, by extension, the longhouse itself. Her presence is as central and comforting as the hearth fire, her wisdom a steady, guiding light in the communal life you share. She might be seated on a low, fur-covered platform, her back straight despite her many seasons, her hands perhaps occupied with some light, intricate beadwork or the mending of a ceremonial garment. She doesn't often raise her voice or issue loud commands. Her authority isn't rooted in overt displays of power, but in a deep well of lived experience, a comprehensive understanding of traditions, and the universal respect she has earned from her kin. Clan mothers within Haudenosaunee Iroquois society held incredibly significant political, social, and spiritual power. They were typically the eldest or most respected women of their matrilineal lineage, and their responsibilities were vast. They oversaw the day-to-day affairs of their Longhouse segment, controlled the distribution of food and resources, played a crucial role in arranging marriages, were the primary custodians of clan traditions and names, and, most remarkably, they held the authority to appoint, and, if necessary, to depose or dehorn the male chief sachems or Haudenosaunee who represented their nation in the Grand Council of the Confederacy. This system of matrilineal descent and female political influence was a cornerstone of Haudenosaunee society, a stark contrast to the patriarchal structures of many other cultures around the world. You watch her now as your younger cousins engage in a typically boisterous, if relatively minor, squabble over the ownership of a particularly shiny river pebble. Before the disagreement can escalate into actual tears or, creator forbid, the misplacing of someone's carefully crafted toy lacrosse stick, the clan mother makes a sound. It's not a shout, not even a sharp word. It's a very specific, almost imperceptible clearing of her throat. A tiny, distinctive ahem that you've all learned to recognize from infancy. This quirky signature throat clearing is her primary disciplinary tool, and it's astonishingly effective. The squabbling instantly ceases. Two pairs of wide, suddenly very innocent eyes turn towards her. She might then offer a quiet word, a gentle reminder about sharing, or perhaps, if the situation warrants it, she'll launch into a seemingly unrelated but actually very pointed story about two squirrels who couldn't agree on a nut and ended up losing it to a very cunning blue jay. The clan mother doesn't need to raise her voice. She possesses the look. Ai Baichi. It's a look that combines immense patience with an unshakable understanding of ancient truths. And it can silence a bickering council of seasoned warriors or make a particularly rebellious teenager suddenly develop an intense, all-consuming interest in meticulously restacking the communal firewood. It's a genuine superpower. Frankly, one you secretly hope to cultivate yourself one day, though you suspect it takes several decades and at least 3 near-death experiences with poorly cooked venison to perfect. Her guidance extends beyond just settling childhood disputes. You've seen her mediate discussions between adult members of the Longhouse, her calm questions and insightful observations, gently steering them towards consensus. She might organize the women for communal tasks like processing the harvest from the Three Sisters fields, or oversee the preparation of food for a festival. Young women might come to her for advice on matters of the heart or the intricacies of clan responsibilities. Even the men, the hunters and warriors, often seek her counsel before making important decisions that affect the clan. Historians and anthropologists still argue, when examining the complex interplay of gender roles and power structures within Haudenosaunee governance, about the precise balance of power and the exact mechanisms of influence between the Council of Clan Mothers and the Council of Male Chiefs, particularly in matters of external diplomacy, treaty-making, and warfare, versus their more clearly defined roles in internal Longhouse clan and ceremonial affairs. What is undeniable, from your daily experience is that her influence is pervasive, a gentle but firm hand on the tiller of your communal life. You've seen her, on more than one occasion, settle a potentially heated argument between two respected elders over the interpretation of a particular dream or the correct procedure for a minor ceremony. Not with a decree, but with a single, perfectly timed, and usually quite humorous story about a very foolish muskrat and a surprisingly philosophical beaver who had a remarkably similar disagreement centuries ago. By the end of the tale, everyone has usually forgotten what they were arguing about in the first place, and is instead pondering the beaver's unexpectedly deep insights on interspecies resource management and the transient nature of prime riverbank real estate. If the entire Longhouse had an official motto, Translated directly from one of her typically gentle but unmistakably firm pronouncements, it would probably be something along the lines of, "Yes, your passionate opinion is very interesting indeed. Dear one, and your fervor is duly noted. But have you perhaps considered not accidentally setting the communal fish drying rack on fire with your enthusiastic gesticulations today? Just a thought." Hati sage advice, always delivered with a twinkle in her eye that suggests she's seen it all before. Probably several times. Her quiet wisdom, her deep connection to the traditions, and her unwavering commitment to the well-being of her kin. These are the qualities that make her the anchor of your Longhouse family. In a world that is always in motion, even within the seemingly static rhythms of your daily life, she is a point of stillness, a source of continuity. Her presence ensures that the gentle rhythms of Haudenosaunee life pulse steadily, that harmony is maintained, and that the future generations are nurtured in the ways of their ancestors. And as you observe her now, perhaps sharing a quiet smile with a grandchild, or offering a soft word to your mother, you feel a profound sense of security and belonging, rooted in the quiet, unwavering wisdom of your clan mother. The quiet, respected authority of your clan mother. Her wisdom, a steadying undercurrent in the daily flow of Longhouse life, creates a nurturing space where the next generation can thrive. As the morning progresses and the initial tasks around the hearth are completed, another gentle, yet altogether more vibrant, rhythm begins to fill the long, bark-covered dwelling, the shared laughter and playful antics of the children. Their joyful sounds, echoing softly through the smoky air from one end of the communal home to the other, are a constant life-affirming reminder of your people's continuity and the strength found in kinship. In your Haudenosaunee world, raising a child is not solely the responsibility of the biological mother and father. It is a truly communal affair, a beautiful expression of your interconnectedness. Within the matrilineal structure of Haudenosaunee society, child rearing was largely a shared responsibility within the extended family unit of the Longhouse. While a child's primary bond was with their mother and her lineage, maternal uncles and mother's brothers often played a particularly significant role in the upbringing, teaching, and sometimes discipline of their sisters' children, especially the boys, as they belonged to the same clan. Aunts, grandmothers, older cousins, and indeed, almost any adult member of your hearth group or even neighboring ones will offer a helping hand, a watchful eye, a story, or a gentle correction. This means a child grows up surrounded by a multitude of caregivers, enveloped in a web of affection and guidance, always with someone to turn to, always feeling a part of something larger than themselves. The Longhouse acoustics, you've often noted with a smile, are absolutely fantastic for amplifying two distinct things very serious: low-toned pronouncements from the clan mother when she means business, and the high-pitched, infectious sound of three small children simultaneously discovering that a hollowed-out, dried squash gourd makes an excellent, if somewhat ear-splittingly loud, percussive instrument, usually right about the time you were hoping for a moment of quiet contemplation. You watch them now. A small group of youngsters engaged in some intricate game near the central corridor. Their movements quick and full of an energy that seems boundless. Their play often mimics the activities of the adults' little boys with tiny, harmless practice bows, stalking imaginary deer amongst the storage bundles, little girls cradling dolls made of corn husks, gravely discussing the proper way to prepare miniature clay pots of imaginary soup. They are learning through imitation, absorbing the roles and responsibilities of their future lives in the most natural way possible. Their laughter, sudden and bright, erupts frequently. A sound as warm and welcome as the sun's rays finding their way through the smoke holes. There's your cousin Konwasitsiayenni, or Katsi as she's affectionately known, who is about 7 summers old and currently the designated official Longhouse monster for an energetic game of chase. Her older brother, your uncle Rawanhni Iyo in this matrilineal context, a man usually known for his quiet strength on the hunt, has temporarily transformed into this fearsome but not too fearsome creature. His playful growls and exaggerated stomps, sending Catsy and her friends into fits of delighted shrieks as they dodge and weave around the sleeping platforms and supporting posts. It's a quirky, cherished tradition in your hearth group. This monster game, a way for the adults to connect with the children on their own terms, sharing in their unrestrained joy. Education is not a formal, structured affair in these early years, but a constant, gentle osmosis. Children learn by listening to the stories of the elders, by observing the skilled hands of the craftspeople, by participating in small, age-appropriate tasks alongside their mothers, aunts, and uncles. You try with infinite patience to explain a complex beadwork pattern for a new moccasin design to your 5-year-old niece, who is watching with what appears to be rapt attention. Halfway through your careful demonstration of how to secure the sinew thread, however, her gaze shifts to a particularly resilient beetle attempting to scale a nearby bark wall. Suddenly, the intricate art of beadwork is entirely forgotten in favor of a new, far more pressing scientific inquiry: can a beetle be taught to do a backflip if offered a sufficiently tempting crumb of maple sugar children? You reflect with an affectionate sigh, have an unparalleled ability to keep your adult priorities in sharp, bewildering, and often beetle-centric perspective. Historians and educational theorists still argue, when studying traditional indigenous child-rearing practices, about the precise extent to which Haudenosaunee children's play was purely spontaneous, self-directed, and primarily recreational, versus how much of it might have been subtly yet intentionally structured or guided by the adults within the community as a form of informal, experiential education, subtly instilling core cultural values, gender role understanding, practical life skills, and a sense of responsibility from a very early age. Watching Catsy flee from the monster, her path conveniently taking her past the woodpile where she accidentally grabs a small piece of kindling and heroically deposits it near your family's hearth before escaping again. You suspect it's a rather clever blend of both. The official sport of most Longhouse toddlers, you've long since concluded, seems to be competitive tripping over perfectly obvious, stationary obstacles while simultaneously carrying something extremely precarious and usually quite messy. They are all clearly in rigorous training for the future Pan Longhouse Spillage Olympics. And the competition, you have to say, is fierce. But even their tumbles and minor mishaps are usually met with gentle reassurance rather than harsh scolding, a testament to the nurturing environment that surrounds them. The presence of these children, their shared laughter, their boundless curiosity, their occasional and sometimes surprisingly loud expressions of dismay, all these are vital threads in the gentle rhythms of Longhouse life. They are the future, the inheritors of the traditions, the next generation who will sit by these same hearths, tell these same stories, and raise their own children within these smoky, protective walls. Their playful energy is a constant reminder of joy, of renewal, and of the enduring strength of the Haudenosaunee people. A soft, bright melody in the heart of your communal home. The joyful, sometimes chaotic, symphony of children's play continues to provide a lively soundtrack to the inner workings of the Longhouse, a testament to the community's vibrant future. But as the sun, filtering down through the smoke holes, climbs higher in the sky outside your bark-covered home, it signals a shift in the day's gentle rhythms. It's time for you, along with the other women of your matrilineal line, to turn your attention to another vital, life-sustaining task: the tending of the fields. The sacred dance with the Deohako, the three sisters, corn, beans, and squash, who form the very bedrock of your Haudenosaunee sustenance and spirituality. You gather your tools, perhaps a sturdy digging stick made of fire-hardened hickory, a clamshell hoe, or a basket woven from ash splints for carrying weeds or harvested produce. There's a quiet camaraderie as you and your sisters, aunts, and cousins prepare to leave the smoky embrace of the Longhouse for the sunlit, or perhaps softly overcast, depending on the season's mood clearings that surround your village. This is women's work, Predominantly, and it is work held in high esteem, for it is through your hands and your ancestral knowledge that the community is fed. Time for your daily workout in the gym of the great outdoors. Also affectionately known as the field where dreams of an effortlessly weed-free existence routinely go to wither and die, your primary personal trainer today, you note with a sigh, appears to be a particularly stubborn and rapidly expanding patch of pigweed that seems to have ambitions of global domination. Starting with your corn patch, the three sisters, corn maize, beans, and squash, formed the absolute cornerstone of traditional Haudenosaunee agriculture and diet. These crops were not just grown together randomly, they were cultivated in a remarkably sophisticated intercropping system where each plant benefited the others. The sturdy corn stalks provided a natural trellis for the bean vines to climb. The beans, in turn, fixed essential nitrogen in the soil, enriching it for all three, and the broad leaves of the sprawling squash plants shaded the ground, conserving precious moisture and naturally suppressing the growth of unwanted weeds. This elegant symbiotic relationship was more than just clever farming. It was seen as a sacred gift, a model of cooperation and mutual support to be emulated in human society. Stepping out of the longhouse, your eyes adjust to the brighter light. The fields, cleared painstakingly from the surrounding forest by the men generations ago, stretch out around the village, a patchwork of green and earth. The air here smells different, of damp soil, growing things, the sweet scent of corn tassels in the summer, or the earthy aroma of ripening squash in the autumn. You find your family's allotted section, your responsibility, and begin the work. It might be the gentle hilling of soil around the base of the young corn stalks to give them support, or the careful guiding of tenacious bean tendrils towards their corn stalk partners. You carefully tuck a delicate bean tendril around a sturdy corn stalk, feeling a bit like a very patient, very earthy, and slightly sunburnt matchmaker for sentient vegetables. "There you go, little bean," you might murmur with a smile. He's tall, strong, and provides excellent, unwavering support. You two will be very happy together and also, with any luck, incredibly delicious in about 2 moons' time. Weeding is, of course, a constant companion, a never-ending dialogue with the persistent ambitions of other, less deliberately cultivated plants. You move slowly, methodically, your eyes trained to distinguish the tender shoots of your beloved sisters from the opportunistic interlopers. As you work, you might softly sing, the songs often ancient, their melodies and words passed down from your grandmothers and their grandmothers before them. Songs that speak of gratitude to the earth, prayers for a bountiful harvest, or simply the quiet rhythms of women working together under the sky. It's a common practice, a quirky little tradition in your community, to talk or whisper to the corn plants as you tend them, offering them words of encouragement, praising their strength and beauty, essentially coaxing them towards a full and fruitful maturity. Some say it makes the corn sweeter, the harvest more abundant. You're not entirely sure about the scientific efficacy, but it certainly makes the hours in the field feel more companionable. The squash plants, with their enormous sprawling leaves and determined vines, are usually doing their typical thing, attempting a slow, leafy, and surprisingly successful takeover of the entire known universe, one sinuous, exploratory tendril at a time. You admire their unbridled ambition, their sheer verdant audacity, even if it does mean a bit more work for your already aching back, as you gently redirect their territorial expansions to ensure they don't completely smother their more upright bean and corn siblings. Historians and archaeologists still argue, when examining settlement patterns, post-hole mold evidence, and soil analyses, about the exact scale, intensity, and technological sophistication of Haudenosaunee agriculture prior to widespread European contact, particularly regarding the total extent of land cleared for cultivation around major villages and the consistent surplus achieved beyond immediate local subsistence needs, which would, in turn, have significant implications for understanding pre-contact population densities, regional trade networks, and the economic underpinnings of the Confederacy. Looking out over these carefully tended fields, wrested from the wild forest and nurtured with such dedication, you feel a deep connection to this land, a sense of profound responsibility. This isn't just farming, it's a sacred trust. The work is often hard, your muscles protesting under the sun or a persistent drizzle, but there is also a deep satisfaction in it, a feeling of being directly involved in the miracle of growth, of coaxing life from the earth. The shared labor with your sisters, mothers, and aunts, the quiet conversations, the shared songs, the easy laughter that sometimes ripples through the fields. These things lighten the burden and strengthen the bonds of your matrilineal community. This sacred dance of tending the three sisters is a fundamental, life-giving rhythm of your Haudenosaunee existence, ensuring not just physical sustenance for your longhouse, but also a profound and enduring spiritual connection to the land that cradles you. While you and the other women of your longhouse kinship group are immersed in the sun-dappled, earthy rhythms of tending the three sisters in the fields surrounding your village, another vital current of activity flows from your communal home, heading in a different direction. The men, your brothers, your maternal uncles, your husband, if you are married, the older boys eager to prove their skills, are also engaged in their essential duties, their paths leading them away from the cultivated clearings and into the deep, ancient embrace of the surrounding forest. Theirs is the hunter's path, a realm of keen senses, patient tracking, and a profound understanding of the wilder spirits of the land. And their successful return with the forest's gifts is just as crucial to the well-being of the longhouse as your own agricultural bounty. In traditional Haudenosaunee society, there was a well-defined complementary division of labor between men and women. While women were the primary cultivators of the land, responsible for agriculture and the domestic sphere of the longhouse, men were primarily responsible for hunting wild game, fishing in the rivers and lakes, conducting long-distance trade and diplomacy with other nations, participating in warfare for defense or conquest, and undertaking the initial heavy, arduous labor of clearing new forest land for village sites and agricultural fields. This balance of roles ensured that all the needs of the community, from food and shelter to security and external relations, were met. You might see them as they prepare to depart in the cool, misty air of the early morning, their demeanor focused and quiet. They check their longbows, crafted from resilient hickory or ash, ensuring the sinew strings are taut and true. Arrows, fletched with hawk or turkey feathers and tipped with sharp points of flint. Chert, or fire-hardened wood, are carefully arranged in quivers of deerskin. Some may carry spears for larger game, or intricate traps and snares for smaller creatures. There's a quiet intensity to their preparations, a respect for the serious undertaking ahead. Your uncle, Dekanogus, a renowned hunter in your clan, always performs a small, almost imperceptible ritual before he leaves. He has a tiny, smooth river stone, one he found on his first successful deer hunt as a boy, and he'll rub it between his thumb and forefinger for a moment, whispering a quiet word to the creator and the spirit of the animal he hopes to find. It's his quirky, personal hunting charm, meticulously cared for, and he attributes much of his consistent success to its silent companionship. He once told you, with a rare smile, that the stone listens better than most apprentices. The men head out, often in small groups, armed with their weapons and an expression of stoic determination that clearly says, I am now off to engage in a respectful, yet ultimately successful, dialogue with a large, potentially irritable forest creature regarding its willingness to contribute its venison-flavored essence to our communal stew pot. Or, failing that, I hope to at least encounter a squirrel that isn't quite as insultingly nimble as the last one. The stakes, in their own way, are always high out there in the whispering, unpredictable depths of the forest. Their journey takes them along winding, often unseen, paths through the dense woodlands, paths they know as intimately as you know the rows of your cornfield. They move with a silence and grace born of long practice, Their senses attuned to the faintest snap of a twig, the slightest rustle in the undergrowth, the direction of the wind carrying telltale scents. Tracking a deer or a bear requires immense patience, skill in reading the subtle signs left on the forest floor, and a deep understanding of animal behavior, their feeding patterns, their watering holes, their seasonal movements. It's a very different kind of rhythm than the one you experience in the sunlit fields. A rhythm of stealth, anticipation, and sudden, focused action. The success of their hunt is vital. While the three sisters provide the reliable backbone of your diet, the bulk of your calories, the meat from deer, elk, bear, beaver, turkey, and smaller game provides essential protein, fats, and a welcome variety to your meals. The hides and furs are just as crucial, transformed by skilled hands into warm clothing, sturdy moccasins, sleeping robes, sinew for bowstrings and sewing, and coverings for shields or containers. Historians and archaeologists still engage in considerable discussion and analysis, examining faunal remains from village sites, ethnographic accounts, and isotopic studies of human bone to determine the precise proportional balance of the traditional Haudenosaunee diet that came from hunted meat and fish versus cultivated crops, and how this dietary balance might have shifted seasonally, regionally between different nations of the Confederacy, or over longer periods of time due to factors like changing environmental conditions, game availability, and evolving intertribal relations or conflict. What is clear is that both were deeply intertwined and essential. You can always tell when your Uncle Decanogus is about to launch into a particularly elaborate hunting story, because he'll spend a good 20 minutes beforehand meticulously repolishing his lucky storytelling arrowhead, not the one he actually hunts with, mind you, but a particularly fine, ancient one he inherited. The hunting story itself rarely changes in its core details, but the arrowhead, you've noticed, gets progressively shinier and more impressively reflective with each retelling. It's probably the most well-buffed, non-functional piece of flint in the entire Haudenosaunee Confederacy by now. The return of a successful hunting party is always a cause for quiet satisfaction within the Longhouse. The sight of men carrying heavy loads of fresh game means more than just food. It means security, warmth, and the continuation of your way of life. An unsuccessful hunt, on the other hand, means, well, it means the three sisters are really pulling their substantial agricultural weight this week, and everyone in the Longhouse suddenly develops a renewed and profound appreciation for the subtle, complex flavor nuances of a meticulously well-boiled bean and the robust character of slightly over-smoked corn mush. The hunter's path, with its whispered secrets of the forest and its dependence on skill, luck, and the respect shown to the animal spirits is a vital counterpoint to the patient. Nurturing rhythms of the fields. Both are essential, both are respected, and both contribute to the gentle, enduring strength and holistic well-being of your Haudenosaunee Longhouse community, ensuring that the hearth fires continue to burn brightly and the voices within remain strong. The men may be deep in the forest, treading the hunter's path with quiet intensity, or perhaps they are engaged in discussions within the men's council spaces. The women, having returned from the sun-drenched fields where the three sisters grow, or perhaps during a lull in the agricultural cycle, now turn their skilled hands to other vital tasks within the smoky, communal embrace of the Longhouse, or in the shaded areas just outside its bark walls. This is the gentle, focused rhythm of creation, the quiet industry of hands weaving life's essential needs and embellishing them with a beauty that speaks of cultural pride and spiritual connection. Your own hands are likely busy now, part of this collective, yet creative hum. The Haudenosaunee people were exceptionally skilled artisans, adept at transforming the natural resources of their woodland environment into a wide array of functional, ceremonial, and aesthetically pleasing objects. Pottery for cooking and storage, intricately woven baskets from wood splints and fibers, carved wooden bowls and utensils, tools and weapons from stone and bone, and stunningly detailed decorative work using porcupine quills and beads made from shell, stone, animal teeth, and later imported European glass beads, were all integral parts of their material culture. These weren't just objects, they were expressions of identity, carriers of tradition, and essential components of daily life and sacred ceremony. Perhaps today, you are working with clay. You've journeyed with your aunts and cousins to a special place along the riverbank, where the clay is fine and smooth. You've dug it out, carried it back in heavy baskets, and now you sit, patiently kneading it, removing impurities, working water into it until it achieves that perfect, pliable consistency. Then, with practiced rhythmic movements, you begin to build a pot, not on a wheel but using the ancient coiling method, or perhaps shaping it carefully from a single lump. The cool, damp clay yields under your fingers, taking the form you envision, a sturdy cooking pot with a rounded bottom designed to sit perfectly in the embers of the hearth, or a more elegant, incised vessel for storing precious dried corn or maple sugar. Your current ambitious project, a utility basket designed to hold, with any luck, exactly one slightly grumpy but generally well-behaved toddler, 3 large ears of prize-winning corn, and the entire existential weight of knowing that this meticulously woven basket will probably outlast several fleeting mortal empires. No particular pressure on the weave quality. Then, or maybe your task today is basketry. You sit with a bundle of black ash or hickory splints, painstakingly prepared, pounded, peeled, and dyed with rich, earthy colors from berries, roots, and barks. Your fingers fly, weaving the strong, flexible splints over and under, the pattern emerging as if by magic. Though you know it's the result of years of learned skill, passed down from your mother, your grandmother, the generations of women before you, a carrying basket for the harvest, a storage basket with a tightly fitting lid, a delicate, intricately patterned basket for holding medicinal herbs or precious personal items. Each one is a testament to patience and artistry. Then there is the beadwork, or perhaps the even more ancient art of quill work, using dyed porcupine quills to create breathtaking geometric or floral designs on clothing, moccasins, and pouches. If your community has access to wampum, those precious white and purple beads painstakingly ground from whelk and quahog clamshells, you might be involved in stringing them into belts that record treaties, histories, or important messages. Trying to thread a single, almost microscopically tiny, polished wampum bead onto a fine sinew string with fingers that might still be slightly stiff from hoeing corn earlier in the day is today's unannounced extreme sport. The grand prize, not accidentally poking yourself directly in the eye with the awl, and possibly creating a thing of profound symbolic beauty, or at least a thing with a respectable number of beads successfully attached to it. There's a quirky little piece of longhouse etiquette, a sort of bead karma that everyone quietly observes. If you happen to find a stray bead on the floor or path, a tiny, precious globe of shell or, in more recent times, vibrant glass, you are honor-bound to try and find its owner. Returning a lost bead, it is whispered with a knowing smile, ensures good fortune and smooth progress in your own intricate beadwork projects. Conversely, keeping a found bead without making an effort to return it is said to result in an unusual number of snapped threads and mysteriously misaligned patterns in your next creation. It's a small thing, but it fosters a nice sense of communal trust and shared respect for each other's creative endeavors. Historians and art historians still engage in lively debate regarding the extent to which specific geometric, floral, or zoomorphic animal-shaped designs and motifs found in traditional Haudenosaunee beadwork, quill work, and pottery held universally understood, codified symbolic meanings that were consistent across all clans and nations of the Confederacy. Alternatively, they questioned the degree to which the interpretations of these designs were more localized, perhaps specific to certain families or communities, or even allowed for a greater measure of individual artistic expression and personal meaning. Looking at the intricate sky dome pattern your aunt is currently beading onto a pouch, a pattern she says came to her in a dream and represents the celestial realm. You suspect that universal symbols and deeply personal visions can, and do, beautifully coexist. Old Aunt Kayatanoron, your mother's eldest sister, is particularly renowned throughout your village, and even a few neighboring ones, for the exquisite quality of her pottery. Her pots are so perfectly symmetrical, so finely finished, and so remarkably resistant to cracking during the firing process, that some of the younger women whisper she must have bartered with a particularly obsessive compulsive earth spirit for the skill, perhaps trading away her ability to ever tell a short anecdote. Or you think with an admiring smile, she just possesses a truly awe-inspiring level of patience and an uncanny knack for finding clay entirely free of those treacherous little lumps that plague your own efforts. This quiet, focused work, these hours spent with your hands transforming raw materials from the earth into objects of both utility and profound beauty, is a deeply satisfying and grounding rhythm in your Haudenosaunee life. It's a time for shared conversation with your sisters and aunts as you work together, for passing on skills, for quiet contemplation, or for humming the ancient songs that seem to flow as naturally as the river. These acts of creation are not just chores, they are affirmations of your identity, your connection to your ancestors, and your role in providing for the physical and spiritual well-being of your Longhouse family. Your hands, weaving life's needs, are shaping the very fabric of your world. The rhythmic scrape of a pottery tool against damp clay, the soft swish of ash splints being woven into a sturdy basket, the almost inaudible click of beads being threaded onto sinew. These are the gentle sounds of productive hands that often fill the quieter moments within your Haudenosaunee Longhouse. But as the day progresses, or perhaps as a specific need arises within your extended family or clan, another equally important rhythm emerges: the soft murmur of voices engaged in council, the quiet whispers that maintain community balance and seek collective harmony. You might not always be a direct participant, especially if you are younger, but you are an observer, learning by listening, absorbing the ways your people navigate the complexities of communal living through thoughtful discussion and a deep commitment to consensus. This isn't about loud pronouncements from a single, all-powerful ruler, or the chaotic shouting matches you sometimes hear described in tales of other far-off peoples. The Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and indeed the individual nations and clans within it, possessed a remarkably sophisticated system of governance that was deeply rooted in principles of council, extensive deliberation, and the pursuit of consensus rather than simple majority rule or autocratic decree. Decisions, whether at the Grand Council level involving all 6 nations or concerning more local, internal Longhouse affairs, were often arrived at after lengthy discussions where all respected voices had an opportunity to be heard. You observe a small gathering now, perhaps around your own family hearth after the evening meal, or in a slightly larger, cleared space within the Longhouse where several related hearth groups have come together. The clan mothers are there, their presence lending gravity and wisdom. Respected elders, both men and women, whose words carry the weight of experience, are also present. Perhaps a few of the younger, promising men who might one day become sachems or war leaders listen intently from the periphery. You observe the clan council in session, or perhaps it's just an informal family discussion about a shared concern. It's less dramatic gavel-banging and impassioned, table-thumping oratory like those excitable toga-clad debaters from across the Great Water. You sometimes hear vague rumors about from traders, and more akin to a very polite, incredibly lengthy, and deeply philosophical consideration of whether planting an additional, supplementary row of beans next season is strictly necessary for optimal community well-being, and what the spiritual implications of potentially overburdening Mother Earth might be. The suspense is, well, it's Haudenosaunee suspense. It builds slowly, thoughtfully, and usually involves everyone getting a chance to ponder all 7 sides of any given issue before even thinking about approaching a decision. The topics discussed might range from the practical, planning for the next communal hunt, deciding when to begin the maple sugar harvest, allocating shared storage space within the Longhouse, to the more delicate matters of resolving minor disputes between individuals or families, or discussing the upcoming ceremonial cycle. There's a deep respect for the process itself. When someone speaks, others listen, truly listen, not just waiting for their turn to interject. To ensure this orderly exchange, your clan, like many others, employs a simple but effective tool, perhaps a specifically designated talking feather, an ornately beaded wampum string, or a smoothly polished ceremonial stick. This object is passed from speaker to speaker, and only the person currently holding it has the floor. It's a wonderfully civil system, ensuring even the quietest voice can be heard without interruption. Of course, and when the speaker's feather eventually makes its way to your beloved, and famously loquacious, great Aunt Texcoco, everyone subtly prepares themselves for a captivating, if somewhat meandering, oration that will undoubtedly, eventually possibly, tangentially relate to the original topic at hand, but will most certainly involve at least three charmingly irrelevant anecdotes about particularly cunning raccoons she knew in her youth and their surprisingly insightful views on interspecies diplomacy. The goal, always, is not to win an argument or to impose one's will, but to achieve harmony, to find a path forward that everyone can, at the very least, live with. This often requires immense patience, a willingness to compromise, and a deep trust in the collective wisdom of the group. Historians and political scientists still engage in considerable scholarly debate regarding the precise degree of direct democratic participation versus more nuanced representative authority in traditional Haudenosaunee decision-making processes, particularly at the village or clan level. They explore how effectively the voices of all community members, including younger individuals, women beyond the clan mothers, or those with potentially less established status, were truly incorporated into the consensus-building process, or if certain voices naturally carried more weight due to experience, lineage, or oratorical skill. From your observations, it seems that while elder voices and those of the clan mothers certainly hold great sway, there is a genuine effort to ensure that all perspectives are considered before the metaphorical smoke of agreement finally clears. Sometimes, achieving that coveted consensus on a particularly thorny issue, like, say, the optimal placement of the new communal fish drying rack to ensure maximum sun exposure while minimizing olfactory offense to the downwind hearth groups, can take what feels like several eternities. Discussions can go on for days, with lengthy pauses for quiet reflection, private consultations, and perhaps the consumption of a great deal of fortifying corn soup. The ultimate aim is always unity. It's a very effective, if occasionally somewhat narcolepsy-inducing, system for ensuring that decisions, once made, are supported by the whole community. These council whispers, these quiet, deliberate discussions that unfold within the smoky warmth of the longhouse or beneath the shade of the great council trees, are a vital, gentle rhythm in your Haudenosaunee life. They are the threads of communication, respect, and collective responsibility that bind your community together, ensuring that disputes are settled peacefully, needs are met thoughtfully, and the delicate balance of clan harmony is carefully, continually maintained. This is how your people navigate the world, not through force, but through shared breath and considered words, preserving the strength and serenity of your longhouse home. The quiet hum of clan discussion, those carefully weighed words seeking consensus and harmony, eventually subsides, leaving a sense of resolution or at least thoughtful continuance in the smoky air of the longhouse. Life within your bark-walled home is a delicate balance, maintained not just by internal governance, but also by the way your community interacts with the wider world. And few things showcase the Haudenosaunee spirit of connection and respect more clearly than the ancient, deeply ingrained protocols of hospitality, the gentle rhythm of the guest's welcome, and the offering of a shared bowl. You might hear a specific call from the edge of the village clearing, or see a runner approaching, signaling the arrival of visitors, and a subtle shift in the longhouse's energy occurs. A quiet preparation to receive. Hospitality was far more than just polite custom for the Haudenosaunee and other indigenous peoples of the northeastern woodlands. It was a sacred social obligation, a cornerstone of diplomacy, a vital mechanism for intertribal relations, and a fundamental expression of their cultural values of generosity, respect, and interconnectedness. Travelers, messengers, traders, and even formal delegations from other nations were generally assured of being offered food, shelter, and a respectful hearing upon their arrival in a Haudenosaunee village. This tradition wasn't just about kindness. It was a crucial way to maintain alliances, facilitate the exchange of goods and information, and uphold the principles of peace that formed the very foundation of your confederacy. A visitor approaches. Quick, everyone looks suitably busy, yet also effortlessly hospitable Hyde Uncle Otzi's Tosserha's latest batch of experimental skunk cabbage and wild ginger stew, the one he swears is a culinary breakthrough, and break out the guest-grade maple sugar and the good dried berries. First impressions, as your clan mother always says, are everything. Even if the esteemed guest turns out to be just your slightly eccentric cousin Kyandaron from the next village over, who has once again forgotten his own fishing spear and mostly just wants to borrow yours again. The arrival of guests, especially if they are from another nation or on an important mission, is often heralded with a certain formality. A designated speaker from your village, perhaps a respected sachem, or an eloquent elder chosen by the clan mothers, will go forth to meet them at the edge of the clearing. There are speeches of welcome, often poetic and filled with metaphors drawn from the natural world, acknowledging the creator, the ancestors, and the peaceful intent of the encounter. The visitors, in turn, will respond with their own words of greeting and purpose. It's a slow, deliberate exchange, a dance of diplomacy designed to establish trust and mutual respect before anyone even steps foot inside the longhouse. You and the other younger members of the community might watch from a respectful distance, absorbing these ancient protocols, learning the art of speaking and listening that maintains the great law of peace. Once the formal greetings are complete, the guests are escorted into the village and to the specific longhouse that will host them, often the longhouse of the clan to which their own clan is related, or one designated by the council. Here, they are immediately offered sustenance and comfort. The best sleeping furs are laid out, a space by the hearth is cleared, and most importantly, food is shared. That concept of the shared bowl is central. To eat together is to affirm kinship, to build bonds, to acknowledge shared humanity. The welcome speech from your own clan mother, when receiving distinguished guests, can sometimes go on for a considerable while. It's always very eloquent, deeply respectful, and typically covers roughly 7 generations of pertinent shared history, the current state of the local squirrel population and their impact on nut storage, and a heartfelt wish for continued harmonious coexistence. Your guests usually look profoundly impressed by her oratory, or possibly just very, very hungry after their long journey. It's sometimes hard to tell. Within your own family's compartment, there's a quirky, unspoken tradition. Tucked away in a dry, clean storage space above one of the sleeping platforms is the emergency guest welcome kit. It's not an official thing, just a collection of small comforts your grandmother started generations ago. A particularly fine, soft sleeping fur that's rarely used by the family. A small, beautifully woven basket containing a few choice pieces of dried fruit or a handful of last season's best maple sugar candies. And even a spare, undecorated but perfectly serviceable, carved wooden spoon. It's always kept ready, just in case visitors arrive unexpectedly and the main longhouse stores are low or unprepared. It's a small gesture, but it embodies that spirit of always being ready to share what little you might have. Historians and anthropologists still engage in considerable scholarly discussion regarding the extent to which Haudenosaunee protocols of hospitality were purely altruistic expressions of deeply embedded cultural values centered on generosity and communal well-being, versus the degree to which these established customs also served as sophisticated, highly pragmatic mechanisms for intelligence gathering, for subtly assessing the strength and intentions of visiting groups, for reinforcing political alliances, and for carefully managing the delicate balance of power and resource exchange in a region characterized by both cooperation and periodic shifting intertribal dynamics. Looking at the genuine warmth with which your mother now offers a steaming bowl of corn soup to a weary messenger from the Cayuga Nation. His face etched with the fatigue of many days' travel. You feel it's mostly the former, a deep wellspring of human kindness. Though you also notice the way your uncle, a respected council member, listens with keen, polite attention to every word the messenger says about the state of affairs in the Finger Lakes region. Perhaps it's a bit of both. Sharing your best bowl of stew or your warmest spot by the fire with a stranger, or even a familiar face from a neighboring village, is more than just good manners. It is a sacred duty, a reflection of your interconnectedness. Even if that stranger has a rather alarming new style of feather arrangement in their hair that makes them look vaguely like a surprised owl, and keeps trying to trade you 3 slightly dented and possibly second-hand beaver pelts for the closely guarded secret to your grandmother's famously light and fluffy cornbread recipe. Some diplomatic negotiations you've learned are just inherently tastier and more amusing than others. And so, the rhythm of welcome and shared sustenance continues, a gentle but powerful force that weaves together families, clans, and nations. It ensures that no traveler goes hungry or unsheltered, that news flows between communities, and that the bonds of peace and kinship are continually renewed. One shared bowl, one respectful greeting, one warm hearth fire at a time. This is the Haudenosaunee way, extending the harmony of your own longhouse outwards, creating a vast, interconnected web of respect and reciprocity across the woodlands. The last of the day's light, that soft, pearly glow filtering through the smoke holes, has finally surrendered to the deeper shadows of evening. Outside, the great forest that surrounds your village is alive with the nocturnal sounds of crickets, owls, and the distant mournful cry of a wolf. But inside your longhouse, a different kind of magic begins to stir. The shared hearths, now replenished with fresh wood, crackle merrily, casting dancing orange light on the bark walls and the gathered faces of your extended family. The day's practical labors, the tending of the 3 sisters, the mending of garments, the hushed deliberations of clan councils, the welcoming of any guests are largely done. Now is the time for another gentle yet profoundly important Rhythm the Elder's voice, weaving firelight stories that fill the smoky, communal air with ancient legends, vital teachings, and the enduring spirit of your Haudenosaunee people. You settle onto a soft deer hide near the warmth of your family's fire, perhaps alongside your siblings and cousins, your own children nestled close if you have them. The air is thick with the comforting scent of wood smoke, and maybe someone is slowly roasting a few chestnuts in the embers, their shells occasionally popping with a soft, percussive beat. Then, a hush falls as one of the respected elders begins to speak. It might be your grandfather, his face a beautiful map of wrinkles, each line telling a story of its own. Or perhaps it's a revered clan mother, her voice calm and measured, yet capable of holding everyone, from the smallest child to the most seasoned warrior, utterly spellbound. The stories they tell are the lifeblood of your culture, the threads that connect you to your ancestors, to the Creator, and to the world around you. The Haudenosaunee possess an incredibly rich and complex oral tradition, encompassing epic creation stories detailing the descent of Sky Woman and the formation of the Great Turtle Island, North America. Historical accounts of the founding of the Confederacy by the Great Peacemaker and his spokesman Hiawatha. Trickster tales featuring characters like Coyote or Rabbit that impart moral lessons with humor, and countless fables and legends explaining natural phenomena, animal behaviors, and the proper conduct for human beings. These are not just idle entertainments. They are your history books, your law codes, your philosophical treatises, and your sacred texts, all rolled into one and delivered with the warmth and intimacy of a beloved voice. Tonight, perhaps Grandfather Takari Hoken, his eyes twinkling in the firelight, is about to launch into the well-loved and frequently requested epic of the extremely clumsy bear who, through a series of unfortunate but ultimately fortuitous tumbles, accidentally invented the game of lacrosse. You've heard this particular tale at least 1,000 times, probably more. You know every pratfall, every surprised ursine grunt, every triumphant and entirely accidental goal. Yet you listen with rapt attention, because Grandfather Takarihokun's bear growl impressions are still, objectively, side-splittingly hilarious. And according to your Uncle Decanogus, the hunter, surprisingly, almost unnervingly, accurate. The firelight makes everyone look a little mysterious, a little wiser, their faces softened and animated by the dancing flames and deepening shadows. Or you sometimes think with a private smile, it just makes everyone look a bit sleepy and in rather desperate need of a good, thorough wash after a long day of not having access to modern plumbing and industrial-strength soap. It's a fine line, really. In this particular smoky, fire-lit ambiance, for some of the more familiar, oft-repeated stories, especially the ones with the call and response sections or key phrases, there's a quirky little tradition. At certain points in the narrative, the listeners, particularly the children, are expected to make a specific sound. Perhaps a soft hoot for an owl, a sharp click of the tongue for a falling stone, or a whispered "Nyaway," thank you when a gift is given. It's a way to keep everyone engaged, a playful form of audience participation. And it's quietly understood. If a child is caught not making their sound at the appropriate moment, they might just owe the storyteller a small, perfectly roasted chestnut from the hearth later. It's a very effective system for ensuring attentive listening, fueled by ancient tradition and the universal appeal of roasted nuts. Historians and folklorists who study oral traditions often engage in considerable scholarly debate regarding the degree to which specific Haudenosaunee oral narratives, particularly the great epics and creation stories, remained remarkably static and unchanged as they were passed down through countless generations. Meticulously memorized and recited verbatim by designated storytellers, versus the extent to which individual storytellers might have subtly adapted, reinterpreted, or embellished these narratives to address contemporary concerns, reflect new experiences, or to emphasize particular lessons deemed most relevant for their current audience and the specific context of the telling. Listening to Grandfather Takarihokun, who sometimes adds a new, slightly more dramatic flourish to the clumsy bear's final, game-winning and entirely accidental tumble, you suspect there's room for both unwavering tradition and a touch of artful storyteller's license. Some of these stories are so incredibly long, so filled with intricate genealogies, epic journeys, and profound philosophical digressions. You privately suspect they actually started several generations before the current longhouse was even built, and will probably continue, in some form or another, long after its sturdy bark walls have gracefully returned to the embrace of the earth. It's less bedtime story time and more multi-generational oral tradition marathon, requiring impressive stamina from both the teller and the audience. But through these narratives, you learn about the world, about your place in it, about what it means to be Haudenosaunee. You learn about courage and cowardice, wisdom and folly, generosity and greed. You learn the names of the stars, the properties of plants, the ways of the animals, and the protocols of ceremony. As the fire burns lower and the voices of the storytellers grow softer, more resonant in the deepening quiet of the longhouse, a sense of peace and connection settles over you. These firelight stories, carried on the breath of your elders, are a vital, gentle rhythm, weaving the sacred past into the living present, shaping the minds and spirits of each new generation, and filling your communal home with a warmth that goes far beyond the mere heat of the embers. It is the warmth of shared history, shared wisdom, and a deeply felt, enduring sense of Haudenosaunee identity. The last echoes of Grandfather Takarihokun's tale about the extremely clumsy but surprisingly athletic bear who accidentally invented lacrosse, a story that seems to gain a new, improbable embellishment with each retelling, finally fade into the smoky rafters of the longhouse. A comfortable, contented silence settles around your family hearth for a moment. The only sounds the gentle crackling of the fire and the distant, muffled murmur of similar story sessions concluding at other hearths down the long central corridor. But the Haudenosaunee evening, especially after a day of diligent work and shared sustenance, is not solely for solemn remembrance or quiet contemplation. As the fire burns brighter against the encroaching darkness outside, another gentle rhythm often begins to stir the light-hearted clatter of games, the subtle thrum of a water drum, and the shared, communal laughter that warms the soul as much as any flame. Perhaps someone, maybe one of your uncles with a mischievous twinkle in his eye, produces a well-worn wooden bowl and a handful of carefully fire-blackened and polished peach stones, or perhaps specially carved bone or antler discs, marked on one side with intricate burned-in designs. It's time for a round of the peach stone game, or the bowl game, a beloved Haudenosaunee pastime that combines chance, a surprising amount of suspense, and a healthy dose of good-natured wagering. The Haudenosaunee, like many indigenous cultures, played various sophisticated games of chance, with the bowl game often utilizing 6 to 8 marked fruit pits or bone discs tossed in a wooden bowl, being a particularly popular and culturally significant one. It was frequently played during social gatherings, festivals, and even as part of certain ceremonial observances, with participants often wagering personal items on the outcome. The stakes tonight, within your own family circle, are probably not going to be entire territories or vital hunting rights. More likely, it's for who gets the last piece of maple sugar candy from the communal pot, or who has to pretend that Uncle Otzistoserha's particularly resonant, off-key snoring later tonight is actually a sacred healing chant designed to bring good fortune for the next full moon cycle. The pressure, as you can imagine, is still surprisingly immense. You watch as the first player takes the bowl, gives it a ritualistic shake. Everyone has their own lucky pre-toss. Wiggle, jiggle, or muttered incantation, and then with a sharp upward flick of the wrist, sends the stones or discs dancing into the air. They clatter back down into the bowl, and all eyes lean in to see how they've landed. How many dark sides up? How many light? A murmur of approval or a groan of mock despair ripples through the gathered family. Scores are kept with small counting sticks, and the game can go on for hours, a pleasant, engaging backdrop to quiet conversation and shared warmth. You can always tell when the bowl game is getting particularly serious because your great-aunt Siskoko, who normally maintains an air of serene, grandmotherly detachment, starts muttering ancient, barely audible incantations to her personal set of peach stones, which she claims were gifted to her by a grateful river spirit in her youth. Last week, during a particularly tense round, you're almost certain one of her peach stones actually levitated for a split second before settling. Or maybe that was just the wood smoke playing tricks on your eyes again. Still, she won that round, rather decisively. While the adults might be engrossed in the subtle mathematics and luck of the bowl game, the older children might have their own quieter games. Perhaps a version of cup and pin, trying to catch a small bone cone on a pointed stick, or a complex string game, weaving intricate patterns between their fingers. Younger children, not yet ready for the strategic depths of competitive peach stone tossing, might be playing with small clay figures or simply chasing each other in delighted, giggling circles just beyond the main firelight. Their energy a bright, joyful counterpoint to the more focused pastimes of their elders. Sometimes, the evening rhythm shifts from the clatter of games to the softer, more resonant beat of music. Someone might bring out a water drum, its deerskin head stretched taut, its tone deep and evocative when struck with a padded beater. The Haudenosaunee possess a rich musical tradition, with songs and dances playing integral roles in ceremonies, social gatherings, and storytelling. Instruments like the water drum, various types of gourd or turtle shell rattles, and wooden flutes provide the rhythmic and melodic accompaniment. The rhythm of the water drum tonight is likely to be gentle, a social beat rather than the powerful cadence of a major ceremony. Someone else might pick up a gourd rattle, its dry seeds whispering a soft counterpoint. Then, a voice begins a song, perhaps a familiar social dance tune, a call and response song where everyone can join in, or even a new melody someone has been quietly composing. The music fills the longhouse, a shared expression of joy, of sorrow, of simple togetherness. The rhythm of the water drum is so inherently soothing, it almost makes you forget that you just bet your second best pair of intricately beaded winter moccasins, the ones you spent half a season creating, on whether a handful of oddly shaped fruit pits will land mostly dark side up or light side up. Almost, but not quite. There's a particular water drum in your longhouse, a very old one. Its wooden body polished smooth by generations of hands. It's a quirky, unspoken belief amongst your kin that this drum has a mood if, when it's first played in the evening, its tone is particularly deep, resonant, and sonorous. It's taken as a sign of good luck for any games of chance that follow. Fortunes will be won in terms of bragging rights or extra maple sugar. At least, if, however, the drum sounds dull, flat, or somehow unwilling, everyone subtly lowers their wagers and prepares for an evening of generally terrible luck and inexplicably uncooperative peach stones. The drum, it is said, knows. Historians and ethnomusicologists still engage in considerable scholarly discussion regarding the extent to which Haudenosaunee games of chance, like the bowl game, were purely for secular entertainment, social interaction, and the thrill of wagering, versus the degree to which they also held deeper, perhaps now less obvious, ritualistic significance or cosmological symbolism, perhaps as forms of divination, as reenactments of ancient creation dramas, or as offerings to unseen forces that governed luck and fortune. Listening to the easy laughter, the good-natured teasing, and the simple joy that fills your family's hearth space during a particularly exciting round. It feels like the primary purpose tonight, at least, is the pure, unadulterated pleasure of shared community and lighthearted fun. These evenings filled with the clatter of game pieces, the thrum of the drum, the melody of voices raised in song, and the frequent bursts of shared communal laughter are vital, joyful beats in the gentle, overarching rhythm of your longhouse life. They are the times when the burdens of the day are set aside, when bonds are strengthened, not through shared labor but through shared leisure, and when the smoky, familiar air is filled not just with the scent of wood smoke, but with the unmistakable aroma of simple, human happiness. The last echoes of the water drum's joyful beat, and the final, contented sighs from the conclusion of a particularly riveting round of the Peachstone game, in which great Aunt Texcoco, with the aid of her suspiciously well-behaved, possibly enchanted, Peachstones, once again triumphed over your uncle's more statistically probable, yet ultimately less successful, throws gradually fade into the deepening quiet of the longhouse evening. The children, weary from their day of play and communal monster chasing, are mostly asleep now, nestled in their furs. The adults speak in softer tones, the day's energy gently ebbing. It's in these quieter moments, or perhaps when a cough from a nearby sleeping platform breaks the stillness, or a child frets with a minor fever, that your thoughts might turn to another essential, gentle rhythm of Haudenosaunee life, the profound understanding of plant medicine and the constant seeking of spiritual comfort and balance that underpins your people's holistic approach to well-being. In your world, the forest is not just a source of game and timber. It is a vast, living apothecary, filled with remedies for all manner of ailments. If one possesses the knowledge to find and respectfully use them, the Haudenosaunee people, through generations of keen observation, experimentation, and passed down ancestral wisdom, possessed an incredibly extensive and sophisticated knowledge of medicinal plants. Utilizing hundreds of different roots, barks, leaves, flowers, and fungi to treat a wide array of illnesses, injuries, and spiritual imbalances, this botanical expertise was often held and administered by designated healers, both men and women, or by knowledgeable elders within the clans, particularly women who were the traditional stewards of plant life. From the willow bark that eases aches and fevers, much like the aspirin of a future age, to the jewelweed that soothes the itch of poison ivy, to the potent ginseng root prized for its ability to restore vitality. The remedies are all around you, gifts from the Creator, woven into the very fabric of the land. You might have learned some of this plant lore from your mother or grandmother, accompanying them on gathering trips into the woods. You'd be taught how to identify the correct plants, which parts to harvest, and, crucially, the proper way to do so with respect. There's a quirky, yet deeply important tradition you always follow before taking any part of a plant for medicine. You must offer a pinch of sacred tobacco, a prayer of thanks to the plant spirit, and often you sing it a soft, specific thank you song, explaining why you need its help and promising not to take more than is necessary. You're pretty sure that before harvesting the particularly potent sunshine root, renowned for chasing away melancholy, you also have to perform a short, rather undignified, interpretive dance, praising its vibrant yellow color, and formally apologize to the local earthworm community for any inconvenience your gentle uprooting of its medicine might cause them. It's all part of the holistic, respectful approach. And you suppose it's probably quite good for your core strength and overall spiritual flexibility. If an ailment is more serious, or if its cause seems to lie beyond the purely physical, then one of the community's recognized healers is consulted. These individuals, often members of specific medicine societies like the False Face Society or the Husk Face Society, possess specialized knowledge not only of herbal remedies but also of the songs, dances, and ceremonies required to restore spiritual balance, which is seen as essential for true healing. Got a nasty splinter that's starting to fester. Your auntie Okwarai, who knows every plant in a 5-league radius by its secret nickname, probably has a specific poultice of crushed plantain and yarrow for that. Got a sudden, inexplicable urge to declare war on a neighboring, entirely peaceful village over a perceived insult to your personal lacrosse team's honor. Auntie Okwari also has a probably very different and much more strongly worded, spiritually focused poultice, or perhaps a lengthy ceremonial intervention. For that too, she's a remarkably versatile and highly respected healer. The Haudenosaunee understanding of health is profoundly holistic. Illness is often seen not just as a random physical malfunction, but as a symptom of imbalance, perhaps within the individual's own spirit, or in their relationships with their family, their clan, the natural world, or the spirit realm. Therefore, healing often involves more than just administering a herbal tea or a salve. It might involve dream interpretation to understand the root cause of the spiritual distress. Purification rites such as a smudge with burning sage or sweetgrass, participation in healing ceremonies with specific songs and dances designed to appease or enlist the aid of spiritual forces, or even the carving of a false face mask to literally drive away the malevolent spirits believed to be causing the sickness. The diagnosis for your cousin's persistent and rather alarming grumpiness last spring, after a particularly unfortunate encounter with a territorial badger, was, you recall, spirit of a profoundly disgruntled and possibly slightly embarrassed badger has taken up temporary, unauthorized residence in his left nostril. The prescribed cure involved 3 days of a special bitter tea, a purifying smoke bath with cedar, and a solemn vow to offer the badger spirit a sincere apology from a safe distance and absolutely no more attempting to outstare actual living badgers, seemed legit, and surprisingly effective, as your cousin's mood did eventually improve. Historians and medical anthropologists still engage in considerable scholarly discussion regarding the precise biochemical efficacy of all traditional Haudenosaunee herbal remedies when judged by the rigorous standards of modern biomedical science, versus the undeniably significant role that deep faith in the healer and the traditional system, the powerful communal support of family and clan during illness, and the profound psychological and physiological impact of the placebo effect, all engendered by the healer's perceived spiritual power and often elaborate, participatory rituals, likely played in the actual, experienced healing process. What is clear to you living within this tradition is that true well-being comes from harmony, harmony within yourself, with your community, and with the great singing web of creation. This deep understanding of plant medicine, this constant seeking of spiritual comfort and balance, these are integral, gentle rhythms that ensure not just the physical health, but the overall holistic resilience and enduring spirit of your Haudenosaunee people within the nurturing embrace of your Longhouse community. It's a wisdom that whispers through the leaves of the forest, a comfort found in the heart of your shared traditions. The quiet wisdom of plant medicine and the gentle pursuit of spiritual balance provide a deep sense of individual and familial well-being within your Haudenosaunee Longhouse. But beyond these personal and hearth-centered practices, the entire community is periodically drawn together by a larger, more encompassing rhythm, the cycle of seasonal festivals and ceremonies of gratitude. These are the times when the Longhouse, and indeed the entire village, overflows with shared purpose, joyful noise, and a profound, collective thankfulness for the gifts of the Creator and the abundant blessings of the natural world. Your life is beautifully punctuated by these communal expressions of faith and connection. The Haudenosaunee ceremonial cycle is intricately and beautifully tied to the rhythms of the agricultural seasons and significant natural phenomena, featuring a series of at least 6 major Thanksgiving festivals throughout the year. These include, but are not limited to, the midwinter ceremony, often seen as a New Year celebration of renewal, the Maple Festival giving thanks for the first sap, the Planting Festival blessing the seeds, the Strawberry Festival celebrating the first fruits, the Green Corn Ceremony, a major thanksgiving for the ripening corn, and the Harvest Festival expressing gratitude for all the gathered crops. Each festival has its own unique songs, dances, rituals, and spiritual focus, but all share a common thread of deep gratitude and a reaffirmation of your people's covenant with the natural and spiritual worlds. It's time for the Strawberry Festival, which means, first and foremost, offering heartfelt thanks to the Creator for the gift of the first wild strawberries, then enthusiastically eating an almost improbable quantity of said delicious strawberries, and finally, trying very, very hard not to stain your best, most intricately beaded deerskin tunic with bright red strawberry juice. It's a deeply spiritual, culturally significant, and surprisingly messy annual affair. The purpose of these ceremonies is multifaceted. At their heart, they are profound expressions of thanksgiving. You give thanks for the sun that warms the earth, the rain that nourishes the crops, the forests that provide game and shelter, the rivers teeming with fish, and the three sisters, your sacred corn, beans, and squash, who sustain your lives. These festivals are also about renewal, about cleansing the community of past ills and preparing for the seasons ahead. The midwinter ceremony, for instance, often involves public confessions, the stirring of ashes to renew the fires, and rituals designed to strengthen the people and ensure the continuation of life. And, of course, these gatherings are vital for reinforcing community bonds, for bringing together different clans and sometimes even different nations of the Confederacy in shared celebration, reaffirming your collective Haudenosaunee identity. The elements of each ceremony are rich with sensory detail and ancient tradition. There are the eloquent, often lengthy speeches delivered by designated faith keepers or respected chiefs, recounting sacred stories, offering prayers, and reminding the people of their duties and responsibilities. Sacred tobacco, that vital link between the human and spirit worlds, is burned as an offering, its fragrant smoke carrying your messages of thanks and supplication upwards. Communal feasting is almost always a central part, with everyone sharing in the bounty of the season: fresh strawberries, steaming corn soup, roasted venison, sweet maple confections, and then there is the music and dance, the resonant beat of the water drum, the insistent whisper of gourd rattles, the melodic rise and fall of voices joined in ancient ceremonial songs that have been sung for countless generations. Specific social and sacred dances, like the Great Feather Dance, the Fish Dance, or the Women's Shuffle Dance, are performed, each with its own intricate steps, rhythms, and spiritual meaning. The Great Feather Dance is about to begin. Everyone lines up, looking very solemn, very dignified, their finest regalia shimmering in the firelight or sunlight. Then the drums and rattles start their insistent, driving beat, and it's all about who can shuffle and stomp with the most spiritual gravitas while simultaneously trying not to trip over their own feet or inadvertently collide with the person in front of them. It's significantly harder and more aerobically demanding than it looks from the sidelines. There's a particular, slightly tricky shuffle and dip movement in the bear dance that your great uncle Atsis Toserha, bless his enthusiastic but rhythmically challenged heart, always manages to perform with an extra, unscripted, and comically off-balance wobble. It's become a beloved, quirky little moment in the ceremony for your family. The children stifle giggles, and even the clan mothers sometimes hide a gentle smile behind their hands. He never seems to notice, lost in the spirit of the dance, which just makes it all the more endearing. It's these small human moments woven into the grand, sacred patterns that make the ceremonies feel so alive and deeply personal. Historians and ethnographers who have studied Haudenosaunee traditions still engage in considerable scholarly discussion regarding the precise pre-contact origins and subsequent evolution of certain complex ceremonies, particularly the elaborate midwinter ceremony. They debate the extent to which its specific, multifaceted rituals, such as the powerful dream-guessing rite where individuals share cryptic dreams and others try to interpret and fulfill them to restore spiritual balance, may have been influenced over time by internal societal developments, unique prophetic insights from spiritual leaders, or perhaps even subtle indirect interactions and idea sharing with neighboring indigenous cultures over many centuries. You love the midwinter ceremony, especially the dream guessing. It's a chance for profound community renewal, for public forgiveness of past wrongs, and almost inevitably, for your cousin Ayanwata to completely, hilariously, and with utter conviction, misinterpret at least three highly significant sacred dream symbols, usually involving a squirrel, a canoe, and an urgent need for more maple syrup. Classic Ayanwata. It keeps things lively. These ceremonies of gratitude are the vibrant, pulsating heart of your Haudenosaunee year. They are not just obligations, but joyful affirmations of your place in the cosmos. They are the rhythm that connects you to the changing seasons, to the bounty of the earth, to the wisdom of your ancestors, and to the spiritual forces that guide and sustain your world. They ensure the spiritual nourishment of the entire community, reinforcing the bonds of kinship and reminding everyone, from the smallest child to the most respected elder, of the sacred interconnectedness of all things. This is how you walk in balance with gratitude through the gentle, unfolding rhythms of your life. The echoes of the ceremonial songs and the warmth of communal feasting from the recent seasonal festival still linger in your spirit, a comforting reminder of your people's enduring connection to the Creator and the bountiful earth. As the more public expressions of gratitude settle back into the quieter, daily rhythms of Longhouse life, your awareness might turn inward, towards another, more subtle but equally profound, stream of guidance and meaning, the world of dreams. In your Haudenosaunee understanding, dreams are not mere phantoms of a sleeping mind. They are vital messages, whispers from your own soul, communications from the spirit world, or even glimpses into the unfolding path of the future. Sharing and interpreting these nocturnal narratives is a cherished and significant part of ensuring personal and communal well-being. You awaken from a particularly vivid dream, its images still clinging to you like the morning mist that sometimes wreathes the forest. Perhaps you dreamt of a familiar animal behaving in an unusual way, or of a journey to a strange land, or a conversation with an ancestor. You don't simply dismiss these images, you hold on to them, knowing they may carry importance. Dreams held profound spiritual and psychological significance in traditional Haudenosaunee culture, and were widely considered to be important channels of communication with the deeper spirit world. They were often believed to reveal the hidden desires or needs of an individual's soul, known as ondinonk, or the secret wish of the soul, to foretell future events, to offer guidance for difficult decisions, or to warn of impending dangers or spiritual imbalances that, if ignored, could lead to illness, misfortune, or social disruption. Therefore, paying attention to your dreams and seeking to understand their meaning is not just a matter of curiosity, but a vital aspect of maintaining health and harmony. Later in the day, perhaps as you sit with your mother or grandmother by the hearth, or during a quiet moment with a trusted friend, you might share the substance of your dream. This sharing is not a casual recounting, it's done with a certain reverence, an understanding that you are unveiling something from a different realm of consciousness. Your family members or respected elders will listen intently, their expressions thoughtful, occasionally asking gentle questions to clarify details. The colors you saw, the feelings you experienced, the specific words that were spoken. The interpretation is often a communal effort, different perspectives and accumulated wisdom brought to bear on the dream's enigmatic symbols. You recount your strange dream from last night about a particularly acrobatic flying squirrel who kept insisting on giving you unsolicited, yet surprisingly detailed, advice about your current beadwork project, specifically recommending that you incorporate significantly more purple wampum and perhaps a subtle motif representing the constellation of the slightly annoyed otter. The family council, consisting of your mother, your aunt, and your very serious younger sister, gravely considers whether this clearly significant dream means you need to seek out more purple shells for trading. If the spirit of a forgotten ancestor with a passion for purple is trying to communicate, or if you perhaps just ate a little too much of that fermented berry juice before bed last night, the goal of this interpretation is not just intellectual understanding, but often to identify and then fulfill the soul's wish revealed by the dream, as neglecting such a wish could lead to discontent or illness. This might involve a relatively simple action. Perhaps your dream indicated a desire for a particular type of food, or a need to visit a specific place, or it could be more complex, requiring a special ceremony, the crafting of a particular object, or a change in your behavior. The community often rallies to help an individual fulfill their dream wishes. Understanding that the well-being of one is connected to the well-being of all. Remember that time when little Otter, your boisterous 7-year-old cousin, dreamed quite vividly and repeatedly that he absolutely needed to wear his winter moccasins on his hands for an entire day while singing a song only he could hear the entire Longhouse. After much solemn deliberation and a few stifled giggles from the older children, agreed it was a powerful dream indeed. We all wore our moccasins on our hands for that day in solidarity with Little Otter's soul wish, made eating corn soup a truly memorable and rather messy adventure, let me tell you. But Little Otter was remarkably content. Of course, not all dream interpreters are created equal. Old Man Canoncio, a beloved elder from the Wolf clan in the neighboring Longhouse, fancies himself a particularly gifted seer of dream meanings. He offers his interpretation services with great enthusiasm and unwavering confidence. Last week, after you described a rather mundane dream about a talking fish who complained about the current river levels, he proclaimed with absolute certainty that this meant you were destined to become a great orator, a voice for your people, whose words would flow like a mighty river. Turns out you just had a slight touch of indigestion from Auntie Okwari's famously experimental in that week, particularly potent fish and wild leek stew. Close, though, Canoncio. His interpretations are usually more entertaining than accurate, a quirky and cherished source of communal amusement, always delivered with such conviction that no one has the heart to tell him his flying squirrel probably just represents a flying squirrel. Historians, anthropologists, and psychologists still engage in rich scholarly debate regarding the precise psychological mechanisms and complex cultural functions of Haudenosaunee dream interpretation practices. Whether these customs primarily served as a sophisticated form of traditional psychotherapy and emotional release, allowing individuals to voice hidden anxieties or desires in a socially sanctioned way. As a subtle but effective means of social control, by gently directing behavior and reinforcing cultural norms through divinely sanctioned messages, or as a genuinely perceived and deeply trusted conduit for supernatural guidance. prophetic insight, and direct communication with the spiritual realm. Observing the genuine relief on someone's face when their troubling dream is given a positive, life-affirming interpretation by a respected clan mother, or seeing the communal effort to fulfill a dream that promises collective benefit. It feels like all these dimensions are deeply intertwined. This practice of dream weaving, of listening to the whispers of the soul in the night and bringing them into the light of communal understanding, is a vital, gentle rhythm in your Haudenosaunee world. It guides individuals, informs decisions, heals illnesses, and maintains a crucial dialogue between the seen world of daily life and the unseen world of spirits, ancestors, and cosmic forces. It is how your people navigate not just the forest paths and riverways, but also the intricate, often mysterious, pathways of the human heart and spirit, ensuring that the future's path is woven with wisdom, balance, and a deep understanding of the soul's quiet songs.